what is rest to you?
Periods where you're not exactly doing anything. It's not always sleep. Reading is resting, or stretching is resting. Looking at the beach is restful.
What are our devices doing to our rest?
They are stealing our opportunities to rest. Founders of Netflix once said that the only competition for Netflix was sleep.
Whoa. All right. Welcome to For Your Own Good. I am here with Dr. Brittany Connors.
Hello.
I'm so excited to talk to you because this is a subject that I'm really passionate about, especially recently after coming out of a kind of a 5 to 6 year stint of heads down entrepreneurship, grinding work, which I think a lot of us are. And so you are an expert in rest. And I'm not going to try to describe everything you do because I don't think I could do it justice. So
You probably could.
But I do know that you're on a mission to make rest an active part of the human experience for everyone on the planet.
Ooh, yes. It's such a big mission, but I like it because it scares me. But I do really want that. I have seen people get run into the ground or be taught that and also not able to get out of it. So that really has become my life's mission. Like somebody asks me, like, what keeps you up at night? It's really that, like rest. The fact that people are unable to rest or they don't think they can does really keep me up. And I want them to know that they can.
So you're not getting rest because you want other people to rest. Brittany.
I know we have some questions, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's, what is rest to you?
Yeah.
What is truly restful, or what is rest?
Yeah. So for me, it's the periods where you're not exactly doing anything taxing, but you're still engaged in something that is meaningful to you, but also kind of low energy. So I think of things like reading is resting or stretching is resting. I think looking at the beach is restful. So it's not that it's anything super specific, but I think it's more so the context of which you are doing what you're doing. It's not always sleep. You don't always need to take a nap, but maybe you do just need to sit in the car for 2 minutes before you start driving, or actually chewing your food when you're eating a meal. That is restful to me as well.
So being more present, really, because I've noticed sometimes when I'm eating my food, I will just start going and I realize that I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing, or I'm on my phone.
Yes, aren't we all?
Yeah. And so what are our devices doing to our rest?
Oh my goodness. They are very disruptive. They are stealing our opportunities to rest, because when we have a moment of doing nothing or boredom, we automatically flip to, well, let me check this email, or let me look at my phone. Even our brains are like trying to attend to our phone. So if you do this like as a quick experiment, like just try to put a phone on a table in front of you and see kind of like where your attention is split, and then put it where you can't see it. It's almost like out of sight, out of mind. So it's hijacking our attention. It's stealing our opportunity to be present if we're not using it mindfully, because I know there are ways to do that. But I think it's really replacing some of the opportunities for connection and presence in ways that I don't think we really imagined or anticipated.
Yeah, I do a lot of like sauna, cold plunge, and
I love a cold plunge.
Yes. Yes. And I was in the sauna, and this is at a gym, which I don't normally go to a gym to go to the sauna. I go like to places, and every guy in the sauna had their phone, which I was like, well, why do you even want to bring your phone into the sauna? But everyone was on their phone. They were all scrolling. Some people even had the noise on and the vibration on. And like, there was a guy that was answering text messages. He would put his phone down and then he would immediately turn it over and start scrolling with the volume up on TikTok in the sauna. Yeah. And I was like, I really had to like sit back and be like, this is not my problem to solve.
Yeah.
I am here for me. They are choosing to do what they want to do. But do you know what the science says about phones or addiction or distraction?
Yes, all of the above. So it's the design of these, not only algorithms, but the technology itself is meant to pull you in. So it's almost like unfair because your brain is going to respond. You're getting dopamine responses. It's something that brings connection. So, FOMO is really real. You don't want to miss a moment. You don't want to miss the deadline or if anything happens. And the science also says that the more that we attend to it, the harder it is to look away. So I've been in movie theaters sitting next to people, trying to enjoy a movie. And I mean, they are texting, talking in the movie. And so I think it starts to bother the rest of the environment because even though like, okay, I'm over here trying to watch the movie, I see the light out the corner of my eye, which is now changing like my film experience. And so like, we don't see it as disruption anymore. We see it as normalcy. And I think that's the most disruptive part is that it feels like, why is my phone not in my hand? But there are people who really thought about how can we get you to be on this as much as possible. I think one of the most notable ones for me was, and I'm forgetting his name, but either one of the CEOs or the founders of Netflix once said that the only competition for Netflix was sleep.
Whoa. Whoa.
Right, that is. And so when we think about like, you don't even pay attention to the fact that it's on autoplay. So you don't get a chance to say, oh, let me stop. Let me go to the bathroom. Let me go eat. Because the next show, the next episode is already playing. You have to be so intentional to go back, change your settings, which, that sounds like work. Why would I do that? But if you really want to bring your attention back to like in real life and the people that are around you and taking care of each other's nervous systems, we have to go through those steps. And they're not hard. They do just feel inconvenient because it's not the same thing as your episode just playing because it's next.
Yeah, I think the Netflix example is really great because I remember back when they didn't even used to do the preview, like when you would stop on a certain episode and then they started doing the preview. And then if you stayed too long on the preview, it just starts playing the episode. You're just playing all of a sudden. And then you start watching it. It's crazy. And then the next episode, I think also the sound and the timing of it all, you hear the ba-boom.
It's the primer.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
It's like we're trained. It's like we're trained.
That is the word. It's the same thing with YouTube too, with videos. And like, so I try to listen to chill hop, like as I'm like working or resting, because that is also restful to me. But I've had to change the settings on those too, because it might pop up a video that I didn't want to watch, or again, I was not ready to watch and it's already queued up for you.
Yeah, and that's how they make money.
I know.
Yeah, and I think people say attention is the new currency.
It is. You're paying for it.
Yeah.
You're paying it for things with your attention. And so I've really been trying to be, and there are some folks in like the digital wellness community that are trying to shift us back to more of an intention economy versus the attention economy.
I think we have to be. We have to design our lives. We can't lead our lives by default, or we're allowing other people to design our lives for us, right? And that's what I think our devices are doing. And something that I've done, and actually, let me just ask you, what are some other things? I think we think of rest, but then we also think of sleep. And I know for me, there's a wind down time.
Yes.
Right. And so what does a good wind down time look like? Or what are some things that you can do both with devices, without devices, or just in your home, in your bedroom? And what does that look like for someone that can lead a healthy life?
Yeah, I would say creating a routine that works for you. I know we have a lot of great people telling us what we could do, should do, but like think about yourself and take time to think about that. Like if your wind down includes music or a meal or exercise, think about the things you really enjoy that you can stack and do like as much as you can, the same time, in the same way every night. Definitely taking devices out of our bedrooms, trying to get off your phone. Like I think it's like 30 minutes to an hour before you're supposed to be going to sleep, because the Blu-ray really does wake you up and it tells you, oh, it's time to stay awake. So trying to put your phones away, again, try to put your phones in a place where you cannot see them again, because cognitively your brain is trying to attend to it, even if it's not in your hands or you're not watching it. I think the other thing is communicating that you're trying to wind down, because I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you might be trying to read your book and you got somebody trying to talk and it's like, well, this is my time to wind down. What is your wind down? And trying to honestly create those like routines together, as well as like sharing either boundaries or communications about what the time looks like.
Yeah, I think communicating to your partner or whoever's in your household, your kids, like I think, and my wife has been starting to talk more about this, on creating a space for yourself that makes you feel good and being able to communicate with your family about the space that you need. I think mothers in general, not in general, I mean, mothers really have so much attention taken from them because they have to. They got to take care of the kids, traditional, I'm talking about traditional family roles, but, and they never get time for themselves. And they're woken up early, they have to tend to everybody, and the boundaries aren't set that mom or dad or whoever needs this extra 20 minutes before bed, right? Just to be alone.
And why? Why does mom, why does dad need that time? I think also, especially when we're talking about our children, like helping them they can understand, like, mommy is tired, dad needs a break, and this is why. And then what I think has been so special to me with that specific example is we don't realize that that's modeling. So if, your family, your kids do not see mom, dad take a break, we don't know what it looks like. I know my parents, I saw them work, I saw them play, I saw them have fun. I didn't see them rest though. And that's what I'm hoping is going to change for like the next generation, but also those of us who are like the leaders of the generation to model what that rest looks like and customize and get creative about it, have fun with it.
That's right. When I really started understanding rest outside of sleep was last summer when we climbed Mount Rainier. It's a big mountain outside of Seattle. You need all the gear and the spikes and
all the things.
Yeah, we got a guide and all that. And so we had these really interesting guides. It was like straight out of a movie. It was really funny. But they said something that stuck with me. They said, if you can stand, stand. If you can sit, sit. If you can lay, lay. If you can rest, rest. If you can sleep, sleep. And so what they were telling you is like, you don't realize, but just like sitting down is going to give you rest. You're just laying down, even if you're not sleeping. And so when you're climbing this mountain at elevation with gear and you're like not eating enough food, or you don't have enough water, or you have to keep up with all that, you don't realize how much you're going and going and going. And even just sitting, you should do, because it will help just even that little bit to help keep you going to go climb that mountain. And I think that was a really actually key moment for me to be like, oh, I can just sit and rest. I don't need to take a nap. And maybe if I take a nap, maybe that's okay. My wife can attest to this. I've taken more naps in the past 2 years than I have in probably my entire life. I
love this. And I love that you got options. Rest is an activity, right? So there's various forms and there's various ways. I think now, and I love like the self-care movements, but I think we have a very like specific, you're in the bubble bath, and that can be part of it, but it can look very different. So I love how that guide gave you a very clear example of like things you can do and that constitute rest.
Yeah, I think you do need to find what works for you, because I think going on a walk without your phone or your headphones is one, and maybe you can give some examples of others, but finding what works for you. And I think doing something alone and in your own space.
Ooh, solitude. I love it.
Yes. And doing it just for you.
Yes.
You don't need to do it like, just go do something for you. Go be in solitude. Go be with yourself. And don't bring any distractions. Don't plan activities. Don't just go
or expectations.
Exactly.
I think too, like the context of that you don't have to rest for revenge. You don't have to rest when you deserve it. It can just be because you want to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. And so I think there's this culture of judgment or shame around taking breaks or taking rest.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, or what do you say to people that are feeling shame or judgment about taking a break?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, what you're feeling is right. You probably are feeling those things, and those things are happening because it's very embedded in our culture. It's very embedded in success. It's very embedded in what it means to be somebody who contributes meaningfully to society. And then the second thing I would say is like, it's a grand opportunity though, for you to come into your own. When I have begun to do more solitude, I can see the world differently. You have to be able to step out of it. And so be courageous enough to step out of it so you can really examine your life. Like, I want people to be able to live their life now in the present and not just get years down the road and think about all the things they couldn't do, didn't do, should have did, when you have the opportunity to like have those kind of pit stops as life is going. And I think the last thing I would say to them is like, as much as you're feeling guilt, you can also feel joy. There's a process to go from this point of not being able to rest to feeling very restful in ways that like enlighten you, enliven you, and inspire others maybe to look at their routines and like what they're doing to challenge what is being taught to us, sold to us, and given to us like through so many mediums. And I mean, included from people we love and respect and admire, but letting them know too that like it is okay. You are not made to like do things all the time. Resting is also doing. And so you can put this into practice in the most simplest ways to see some major results.
How do you even recognize that you need rest?
Ooh, I think like each of us have almost our own like warning signs. Like it makes me think of like when your check engine light comes on, like, so are you forgetting things more often? Are you a little bit more irritable? Are you doing things that like you typically wouldn't do? Like I had a friend tell me like, oh my gosh, like I'm either starting to smoke and I'm like, that's telling me that like, okay, I'm past the point because I know I wouldn't like elect to do this, but I'm like, oh, I'm here. And I'm doing it. So I think trying to understand like what are those things for you that like might be out of the ordinary for you or might be your signs that, okay, it's time for me to slow. Like I would never yell. I would never do these things and I'm catching myself doing it. I think those are kind of like our indicators that we need to pause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was vaping for a while. I had a longer history with tobacco and nicotine that I would care to admit normally. And I've actually just started talking about it.
Okay. That's awesome.
But I realized, especially at the end when I was vaping, it was like, this is making me feel really weird.
Yeah.
One, I was like, this is not right. And it was really causing distraction and a time suck as well. And it was something that I knew deep down that I wasn't meant to be doing and that there's something else going on that I need to attend to. And it was, you don't think that it's taking time and energy away or distracting, but when you start paying attention, when I started paying attention to how I was feeling and what I was thinking, I realized this is taking me away from even being in touch with my emotions. Like I could feel it pushing that part of my sensory and my perception away from me. Was even just in taking a couple puffs,
No, seriously. And then I think to match that, it's like if you're feeling it, chances are somebody else is seeing it. They might not know how to address it. They might not know how to bring it up. But I would also encourage people maybe to ask the people that they love or at least that are around them that they work with, hey, have you noticed anything different? Am I moving differently? Like, or is there anything that like maybe I'm not aware of that you're seeing? And that's a level of accountability that I'd love to also get us to, because that is being a caretaker for one another. It's like, maybe I don't realize it yet. And the time that is being taken from you is also being taken from us. Because if I can't have you at your fullest self, we can't be there together.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the message of this decade is we have to take care of ourselves first in all different ways so that we can then like give ourselves to others if that's what we want to, if that's what we desire. But we have to be our best selves so that we can then go be the best selves for others if we're wanting to give and create something for ourselves.
Yeah.
So.
And I think a lot of us do. And I think that is closely kind of combined with this like hustle and just go do it. It's very me. But like this expands it to us. Like how are we doing? So yes, I do want you to take care of yourself. But if we're all doing that and making sure we're doing it collectively, we're all going to be better.
Yeah. And how does accountability play into this? Because you talked about responsibility and personal accountability. How does accountability with others play into getting rest or taking care of yourself?
Yeah. So what it can look like is like once you either communicate your rest times, if you see me still on my phone and you've heard me say, I don't want to be doing this or I don't want to do it as often, just saying like, okay, Brittany, I thought we were, oh yeah, you're right. Or like for me, I actually do like a Sabbath. So like I have communicated that to my family and friends. And so if they invite me somewhere and they notice that I'm going, they might say, okay, well, we know this is your Sabbath time. Are you choosing to go today? And I really do appreciate that. So I think like once you find either your rest periods or your rest times, when you say those things and somebody tells you, really like feel confident enough that they want you to be a reminder. You want to be nudged, but lovingly, of course, if you can do that, or patiently as much as you can. But I think the communication and the accountability looks like constant in the moment as much as you can and as often as it needs to happen.
What do you think about the fear of telling people what you want?
Oh, it's very scary, because what if you don't like what I want? What if you think I'm now selfish for what I want? And I think that those feelings are very real, and taking that deep breath to say, if I can show you that I can ask and get what I want, maybe I can encourage you to do that for yourself too. And we're all like more brave for that. We're better, we're more courageous, and honestly, we're more transparent. So it makes it easier when we are breaking down or something is going wrong to say it when we're in the practice and habit of saying something versus waiting or not saying anything. And then when it gets big, we feel frozen.
Mm-hmm. What if someone doesn't have someone they can trust, or they're in an abusive relationship, or, they don't feel comfortable or confident being able to express what they truly want?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say at that point, a few things. Reaching out to professionals who are trained to listen, to respond might be helpful. I think also using things like helplines like 988, if you can call somebody who's going to be there like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is more of like a creative option, but even using things like AI and ChatGPT, because you can start to build trust in like asking something what you want and seeing some responses and like, what if I ask for this? Give me a scenario in which maybe the person doesn't agree. How can you help me respond? Like, honestly, I use that like when I am about to do something big because it's instant. I can take my time with it and then I can like try to apply something that I've learned from it very easily. And then I think the last thing is like, if you don't have anyone you can trust, or let's say things are like maybe abusive or maybe just not the best place for someone, I think being very vocal about that with someone you do trust and either trying to work through that or trying to even find a way to address that, so that you can find a way to move forward.
Mm-hmm. And so you work directly with people, right, to help them become more restful.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how you describe it, but
that's perfect.
Yeah. And so what does that look like to work directly with you, or what are some of the things that you do to help people?
Yeah, so it looks like someone reaching out to me, and I love when they reach out to me because they want to prevent either a burnout or prevent, something not being addressed. But somebody will reach out, I'll do a consultation with them, I'll co-create what the time looks like and what it means. And then we will do a silent retreat right in their home or their rental or any space that is local or kind of meaningful to them, just so they know, like, I want you to carry over these skills and take it home now in your natural environments, because that's what's going to give us like the highest chance of that happening versus going to something that feels like vacation or feels like outside of my real life. I want them to do it where life is happening. So wherever you live, work, and play. And so when we come together, we do discussions, we do prompts, they invite the people that they want to be there with them, which is always fun because like I remember I had a woman who had a heart attack the year before, and she wanted like 10 of her closest friends to just reflect like 1 year post. What was that like for y'all? Like, I know what I was going through, but what was it like to see me go through that? And so, yeah, we actually did it at a co-working space. She made like goodie bags and gift bags for all her friends. We journaled. We talked about what that time was like. We enjoyed like maybe 2 hours of silence. And I had mothers saying, I feel guilty about having 30 minutes to myself. And this like helped me today. Or others were like, I was afraid to tell you how I felt because I didn't want to burden you. So then we take what the group says and we start to talk about that. We're not burdens to each other. We're sharing and trying to reframe. So a lot of the time looks like sharing and reframing and then talking about next steps, how people can, again, implement this into their everyday lives and the group life.
And so I love that you do it at places that people live, work, and play, and not vacation destinations, or because I think you're right. I think there's people that can go do it. There's people that can't go do that too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. There's people that can't go do that. And we can treat it like a vacation and a thing and just be waiting to do the other distractions that are around us
Right.
to go sit by the pool or to go do the other thing. Right. And so tell me about your decision to do it at their house.
Yes. So my decision from that actually comes from my background as an occupational therapist. And so like we work with people in their natural environments after they have strokes or been in a car accident, or they have even mental health challenges. So we like to be where they are so we can break down activities that they have to do, need to do, want to do every day. And we build it until they reach their goal of being independent or interdependent, or I want to be able to go to work on time and, manage the voices that maybe I'm hearing as, someone who is living with schizophrenia. So all of that work happens in the home. I think I was also inspired by my own story. So back in 2019, my dad had multiple strokes. He's okay now, but As an OT, I was like the liaison between my family and the healthcare team, being a healthcare professional, and still was a lot for me. And so one day I was like, well, what can I do? I can't leave. My family needs me. I can't go too far. What can I do? So I Googled how to do a silent retreat at home and found like a nice article that like gave me some steps. I did it. And then I sat in silence on the side of my bed for 8 hours that day. And it was the best day I had had in a long time.
Whoa.
Yes, I felt so good. Like I was drinking water, I was breathing, I was reflecting, and even just feeling the water go down in a different way. Like when you're so busy, you can't feel that. You can't appreciate that. So it was like at that moment that I was like, oh, I need to share this. I want to do this with other caregivers or other people. And that's what really encouraged me to do it at home, where I could do it, where I can bring the people that are right around me. We can make it special, and we are able to carry over. And that really led me on a journey. So then I got into digital wellness. I started getting off social media, and I started communicating more with my family, which was hard at first. But then they were like, oh, no, we're not calling Brittany now. She's resting. And then I started to see my parents rest, which, you know, they come from the generation of work, right? So to see my mom actually, like, it almost makes me emotional. I saw my mom take a break and actually be proud of herself that she didn't do anything. And so that has brought myself, my family, and my friends all closer now that we have begun to do it together. Because I think that's the key. When you try to do it by yourself, it feels too hard.
Yeah.
Or you feel like, now I'm incompetent. What is everybody going to think that I'm saying I need a break? But when we do it together, there's something about that gives everybody permission to try it and to do it. And it's like we're all doing it. So if we're all doing it, we must be okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. I got a little emotional when you talk about your mom.
I do.
Yeah, because, my wife and I built these properties and these houses with one of the drivers to like create an environment for our families to come visit, and the kids and the nieces and nephews and parents. And, we've been able to do that. And they likely would not have traveled without us creating this thing.
Yes.
And so it feels really good. And I know exactly what you mean. And we want them to have rest. Yeah. My wife's dad has worked hard manual labor for his entire life.
Yeah, no, I know.
My wife is off camera crying. We're getting a little emotional.
No, seriously.
Where
And
do they put the tissue box?
right. Because, to your point, it's like we can travel together, we can shop.
I'm good. Yeah, thank you.
We can do like all these other activities together. So we should be able to rest together and see that it's something that we can all come together and do. Like, so that's been my dream with these retreats, to say, get the people you love or work with or your team. Let's come together and do this, so we know that this is also an option. We can just enjoy each other's company. We don't have to do anything. It doesn't have to be an event. It doesn't have to be a production. We can just enjoy us.
Yeah.
Just being together, the voices that we hear, the stories, and that's our legacy. Knowing that hard work and rest was a part of it, because we chose, and you introduced it. I introduced it to our families in all the generations. And giving them a chance to practice that.
That has to feel good.
Without judgment.
Without judgment.
I
think honestly, the without judgment piece is what blocks everyone from stepping into their power and stepping into the things that they have curiosity in.
Yeah.
Right. I think we are so afraid of what other people are going to think of us.
We are.
And it's weird. And the news told me this thing is weird, and why do this? Or my friends were making fun of this guy that did this. And so I'm not going to even talk about that, even though, I might like it.
And it takes one time for somebody to say something. You remember that.
Yeah.
And it makes it even harder to try.
Yeah.
When that voice is in your head, that comment's been made. But for those who are watching, listening, like, I want you to push through and find others and like create that space so you don't feel so judged and so alone.
Whatever it is too. And that's something that I've learned. And I want to hear about your 8-hour experience, but something that I've really embraced, especially in the last 6 months, was, we can create our own realities.
Yeah.
If we are thinking we need something or looking for something and it doesn't exist, we can go create that. You are creating this community of these people, and all you're doing, I'm not simplifying.
I get it.
But all you're doing is saying, hey, let's all get together and be quiet together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's powerful. And where are we in society that is so powerful that that just the simple act of getting together to be quiet is like profound.
We are at a fast pace. We are at a space where doing is equated to your worth. I think we're at a place where our appearances do matter. And so we have to look like the part.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be that boss. We want to be the person who is the strong person. That means you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, and so like we have never had a true space. So I think this is kind of the analogy I've been telling people, right? When you want to learn, you can go to school. You want muscles, you want to get strong, you can go to the gym. But if you want to rest, where do you go? There really is no place. And so that has been pushing me to create it right where people are, to meet people right where they're at. So it's not am I doing it right or wrong? Do I need to spend all this money? You just need to do it and do it with people that you trust and creating safe spaces and knowing that your space is safe.
Yeah.
You know, and if it is not, that can be maybe the road to getting there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do we need to clear things out? Do we need to add things that make us feel joy and make us feel happy and worthy? And that's a process. So the in-between of like feeling too overwhelmed and resting, there's a process in there that I don't think has been laid out without judgment. And I aspire to do that. That's why I named my company Optimistic Theory, because I don't know what the answer is, but I do want to spend my life trying to prove that as you grow older, you don't have to grow colder. You can rest. Because no, seriously, that happened. Like I was 25, I was working at the VA. And one day I bounced into work because I'm pretty bubbly, pretty bouncy.
Yeah.
And one of my coworkers, I'll never forget, said, "You're not going to have that smile always." I mean, said this to me as like a 25-year-old. And at first I was like, "No, you're just kidding. That's not real." And I went home and I got angry because I was like, why would you say that to me? Why would you wish that for me? And then that anger switched to curiosity. Well, wait a minute. Is that what has to happen? And yeah, that's where it all came from.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that because I saw so many people, and when I see it now and when I hear it, my default response is to try to have empathy and understanding because it's a reflection of how their lives went.
Yeah.
And you have to feel bad that that's how they now feel. And you have to allow that to happen for them. Like I can't even go in and necessarily want to help them. I just have to be okay with myself and the things that I'm doing, understanding that people have lived different lives.
Ooh, that part. And I would say, when you ask us or ask me about the place in which the world is, we are lacking capacity. You can't have empathy when you're short-fused, when you don't have anything to give. And that's what I also love about rest and silence and solitude is that's the way that you truly build capacity. You have to get out, go away in whatever, mode that looks like so that you can have capacity for those people, so you can have that empathy, so you can be generous and merciful with others who have had different life experiences. And my hope is that when they see you, they are curious about how are you so forgiving? How are you so loving? How are you so open when everything is going wrong and it's just about me? And what is it about you or what you're doing that causes you not to be like that?
Yeah.
That's like my hope and dream for people when we are thinking about, okay, that was what happened to you, but also it doesn't have to stay that way for you.
Yeah. And just because you experience it doesn't mean that everyone else has to experience it that way either. Right. Yeah. There was, I really believe that, especially, I mean, I think it's true for everybody, but I know with a lot of men, because of the way that society's, said that we have to be, that we don't speak on our emotions enough. And everything we do takes us away from sitting with our emotions and feeling. And so there was a show, I think it was Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, or now it's just called Queer Eye, but it was these fraternity kids, sweet as can be, not your typical frat guys, what you would think. And they were trying to raise money to do something well. And then one of the guys took them out to like the beach for a day and they sat in a circle to talk. And I don't know, I'm gonna get a little emotional about this, but they all like started crying because no one had really, like immediately, as soon as they just asked him, how are you doing? And it was like, our emotions are bubbled up here, but we have no capacity or anyone in our lives to really ask us about it. And I think I'm in a phase of subtracting and saying no, because I recognize how much I was doing that was a distraction from even sitting with myself and being present with my body and my feeling and what I truly want to do in this life,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just collecting instead of shedding and just being present and getting in touch and attuned. Yeah.
Yeah. And having people that say it's okay for you to do that.
You need permission.
You really do. And you need permission. And that's the togetherness. We can give each other that permission. But you made me think of a really good story. So I work with some teens back home in St. Louis, on a farm, teaching them how to farm and rest and, kind of get the restorative vibes from nature and farming and gardening. And we do a graduation every year. And I'll never forget, like the second year, we actually take them to go like get clothes for the graduation because not all of them can afford to do that. So I think we went to like a Big and Tall or some men's store with the young men that we had in our program. And there happened to be like a 3 kind of facing mirror with a podium. And one of them was kind of joking like, oh, I can get on here. And he was saying what he wanted to be. And I was like, you know what? We're going to make this an activity. I want you to stand on the podium and I want the guys behind you to actually give you compliments. And they're like, that's weird. No, we don't want to do it. But when they stood on the podium and these guys started giving them compliments, they started crying. And they started saying things like, no one has ever told me this about myself, or that they liked this, or they thought that this was cool about me, because our young men are suffering. And I'm noticing that the more that I'm trying to get out here and outreach, the women come to me. The folks, come up to me are typically women. And then I'll go around the conference or the summit, and then the guys are almost like whispering, like, okay, so about those retreats,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't feel like they can come forward.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening, get your guys together.
Yeah.
And let's do this, because you should have a space too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all need it.
We all
we need
it.
to be authentic to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We all need it, whether we're men, women, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on a ski trip out in Whistler,
Mm-hmm.
and, usually like it's like a bunch of guys drinking, and there was a little bit of that, but I was like, hey, Sunday morning,
Mm-hmm.
I booked this spa.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hot tubs, cold plunges, steam rooms. It's outdoors. Who's in? And there was like 15 guys that ended up going.
Yay!
Yeah, it was 2 different groups. So it was like 15 guys, and we all just like, and it was silent too. Actually, one guy got in trouble because he was talking. They came over and it was like, so Gideon, if you remember that, Gideon. But I was like, this is so great that we can all go do this, and it's like normal, and there's no shame around it, because there's that typical like, joking about whatever you want to joke about around taking care of yourself, and that's it's just so toxic, and I don't like it. So
me neither.
I want to hear about your 8 hours of silence. That was the first time.
First time.
And so, remind me what compelled you to do that.
Yeah. So what compelled me was that I was up to here.
Yeah.
Going back and forth to the hospital, keeping my family involved. So I'm talking to all my aunts and uncles and my siblings as well, and they have kids, and trying to make sure that everybody is taken care of. And I was like, well, I've hit a point. So I literally was like, I kind of cleared my schedule for the day, and I was like, I'm not doing nothing today. And so, that's when I was like, okay, well, what can I do if I'm not going to go out I'm not going to respond to any calls or anything. And so, that's what led to me Googling and looking. And then I was like, okay, I'm really not sure how to do it or what's going to happen. But I like sat on the side of the bed, like on the floor. I had a notebook and just a water bottle. And I just stared at the walls. I thought, I cried. I was angry. I mean, I was going through just like an array of emotions that day. And I looked up and it was 8 hours. Like I started in the morning and then I looked up and it was getting dark. And it was almost like I didn't notice.
And you didn't have your phone?
And did not have my phone.
Did you move at all?
Yeah, I did. I think I did like some stretching. I tried to like walk and get snacks, things like that. But I tried to keep it super low key and just add some ease to it, because honestly, I was kind of afraid of doing it wrong. I was really afraid, like, is it going to count? Like,
yeah, I think if you sit in silence for 8 hours, it counts. Yeah.
Now I know that. But honestly, at the time, I was like, I felt like I was judging myself. I felt like there was a rubric to how to do it, or getting that kind of image of what it looked like. I was like, I don't feel like I look like that. Am I doing it? Am I doing all the poses? Am I breathing? And you're just thinking of so much. And then I would say maybe halfway through a lot of those thoughts came way down.
Yeah.
And I was able actually to like enjoy, like I did it, but I was able to really enjoy it by the time it was at the end. Mm-hmm.
And so was there anything that came up that surprised you?
I think what surprised me the most was just how much we're expected to do what I was doing. Whether I told myself that or people were subtly telling me or directly telling me, we are really expected to do it all. We're like truly, I don't think that's a notion. I don't think that's an idea. I think it's a real expectation. And I also tried to think about what is the difference between what I think should be happening and like, what do I want to see happen? Mm-hmm. I think it was the first time I almost kind of took back what it meant to live my life in the midst of everyone, but especially for myself.
And so what changed after that 8 hours?
What immediately changed was I started saying no more. I had to practice saying no. I tried to make myself intentionally less busy. I stopped even trying to use the word busy because I realized that was almost a metric. I started paying attention to what I was consuming. I mean, in all ways, like from what I was eating to digitally consuming, I started thinking about interacting with life just different, and trying to find other examples of people who also just started to follow their curiosity about what it means to, because especially at that age, like I was 20 something, so I respect my elders. I respect the people that are around me, but to have to tell them something different than what we typically do is hard. Mm-hmm. So learning how to do that, be okay with doing that, and then getting bold with doing that was what I learned.
What gave you the confidence to do that?
How good I felt. There was nothing that I had experienced to that point that really hit it for me and made sense for me until that moment.
Yeah, and I got this from my my therapist, who I call my spiritual coach now because she's more than a therapist. But she taught me, the first 6 months of us working together, she's like, you need to stop doing anything. Literally, you need to stop doing anything. And it took me 6 months to be like, oh, you mean like anything? You mean like anything?
Yes,
anything. And then we did a lot of work around feeling in the body. And, when you speak and you get that tightness in your throat or the tightness in your chest or your knee, like there was a session we did where I felt something in my knee. And then it was like this really profound realization of how I'm treating my body and the punishment that I might be inflicting on myself unintentionally because I'm not doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing or meant to be doing. And so being present in our bodies and really feeling how we feel when we're saying yes to something or saying no to something or doing these tasks, you will feel things in your body that are signs and signals that are telling you whether you're doing something for yourself or for others.
Yeah. And we're in our bodies. We're not separate. Like we have to also bring back the notion that mind and body is together. I want to go back to something you said about punishment because when earlier you said, I don't want to simplify what you do. This is the connection. We have also been taught that when you really achieve something, that it has to be hard. If we're not punishing ourselves, if we're not breaking that sweat, it almost feels like it didn't happen. And so I do want us to know in our bodies that your body is equipped with everything it needs. Like you said, it's going to tell you if you can listen, if you can clear out the noise and distract and even turn it down a little. Let's start there. You might not be able to shut it off all the way, but if you can even turn the noise of life down even just a bit, your body will and your being will tell you what needs to happen and go down and stop.
Yeah. You don't have to suffer anymore.
Yes. And suffering is not a requirement.
Suffering is not a requirement. Exactly. And suffering looks like you just continuing to go and go and go because that's what you think that you have to do, or because you said yes, or because of what your parents will think, or your spouse or your kids will think, and continuing to do the things that you've agreed to or you think you need to do just because it's what has always happened. That is suffering. You need to choose yourself and the things that you want to do, and that starts with subtracting everything out that doesn't serve you anymore. And I think your tactic of starting with silence and presence and being with yourself is absolutely the first step that everybody should take, because you're saying yes to yourself and time for yourself. And we don't do that enough. And it's literally the thing that can change everything for you. I truly believe this. It's literally the thing that can change everything for you. If you spend an hour a week, because you're not spending an hour a week. Now you might be scrolling for 4 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
That's not resting. That's not time for yourself. You're giving your attention away to the algorithm.
Oh my goodness. And thank you for saying that. That is really affirming for me, because it's not easy work. And it's also process work. So a lot of things now are so instant that it also feels hard to have, like you said, 6 months and then something. It feels like daunting to say I need that much time when you already feel like you don't have it. But I did design this to be foundational. So if you want to go do a retreat somewhere else, or you want to, get into other mediums and modes, I would love that. But I would also love if people could start with silence or with me, or whatever the case may be. But it's beginner friendly and anybody can try at any level. And I just love that, we are starting to connect the dots on why we don't need to do it. Now we need the space and the arena to know that there's a place where we can begin.
That's right. And people need to know who you are and what you're doing. And so where can they get a hold of you? Where can they schedule these retreats?
Yes. So you can definitely schedule a retreat through my website. I'm also on LinkedIn. Now, I will be honest, I'm not on social media because of honestly how the work has changed me, but you can reach me through email, telephone, and that's where I'll be. Okay,
great. And so how do they find you on LinkedIn? What would they search for?
So you can search Dr. Brittany Connors.
Okay, great. And this has been absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that we connected. A couple of tears here and there. Everyone's feeling it. So I really appreciate you being here. And again, everybody out there, this has been For Your Own Good. I appreciate you, love you, and talk to you soon.